Good evening. My name is Blake Silvio. This is my China country assessment for international trade for Professor Romero, Business 4422. My presentation will go over the economy style, whether it being a free trade area or government controlled, the growth patterns in the history and the future projections, primary industries that China is involved in, the primary trade partners that they sell and buy from, their imports and exports, and then the trade agreements that they have with the various countries, and also the impact of international trade on China, their citizens, and their future. For much of China's existence, they were not a free economy, only until 1978 when there were economic reforms where they really become a free market economy. Before then, they were government controlled with a large portion of the economy directed and controlled by the government, as well as the economy outputs, the production goals, and price points were set by the government. From 1979 to 1999, however, once they opened up to the rest of the world, China started experiencing much growth. Over that 20-year period, they averaged an annual growth rate of 9.7%. In 2021, most recently, they experienced an 8.1% growth rate. However, the future projections expect a decline in the growth rate. While still an increase in growth, the numbers are much lower. In 2022, the expectation shows 3.2%, and in 2023, a 4.4% growth rate, which is an increase from 2022, however, still far below what they've experienced over the last 30 years. And most recently, 2021, with that 8.1%, you're looking at a 66% decline from 2021 to 2022 in that growth rate number. China's primary industries and trade partners. China's primary industries are industrials, wholesale, retail, and crude oil. When you think of crude oil, in 2020, China was the world's largest importer of crude oil. Retail, wholesale, you think of things such as Apple doing foreign direct investment in China will have their parts made for their cell phones or iPads or computers manufactured in China, sent to the United States, and slapped in a phone in somewhere in California, and you buy the phone with Chinese parts. Wholesale, you think of things like toys, shoes, furniture, textiles being made in China, shipped through global commodity chains, sent to the United States, and you end up on a Walmart shelf. How many times do we buy something at Walmart and you see made in China? That's due to these imports. Industrials, we have automobiles made. Imagine Ford, but do the same thing Apple would do. Have parts made in China, sent to the United States, put in a Ford built-in America machine. As far as trade partners, the United States being the most important trade partner for China, with over $500 billion a year exported from China to the United States and $150 billion imported back into China from the United States. Germany is the most important trade partner for China in Europe, with nearly 50% of the exports from Europe sent to China being from Germany from companies such as BASF or the automobile maker Volkswagen. Others include Hong Kong, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Germany, and then Australia. This is just a list of some of their primary trade partners, not all of them. China's imports and exports. Well, China has become the world's largest exporter, #1 ranked in the world. This is widely known in our book listed as the world's largest export factory. These exports include electrical machinery, crude oil, ores such as ash, computers, and medical equipment. This is not to say that they're not an importer. They're also ranked the second largest importer in the world, only behind the United States. These imports include electrical machinery, computers, furniture, plastics, and vehicles, so on and so forth. China's free trade agreements. For China to become the world's largest exporter and second largest importer, it has to have free trade agreements in place. China has bilateral agreements with over hundreds of countries. There are 17 free trade agreements in place and 8 in review or under review. This is a total of 25 free trade agreements. One is with the rest of the Asian countries, the ASEAN agreement. For Hong Kong, it has the mainland Hong Kong economic trade exchanges. For South Korea, it has the China and Korea free trade area. And the most important one and most surprising one is with the United States, the Phase 1 trade deal that was agreed upon in 2020 with President Trump in China to put some ease and reform and ease the tension between China and the United States due to the trade surpluses. And lastly, the impact of international trade on China. Have they benefited from international trade? Have they won or lost from international trade? Well, let's just look at the facts. They're now the largest exporter in the world, the second largest importer in the world. They've become the second largest economy in the world. They've surpassed the United States as the largest recipient of foreign direct investment in the world. All of that to say, the most important thing that they've done, the most beneficial impact that international trade and joining the World Trade Organization has had on China is their massive reduction in poverty. The 11-year span of 2002 to 2013, the middle class has gone from 4% all the way to 31% and has brought nearly 200 million people out of extreme poverty. But if you look at it a little further, since 1978, when China opened up to the rest of the world and allowed foreign direct investment and allowed international trade, nearly 700 million people have been risen out of poverty. So yes, I find that international trade and joining the World Trade Organization has greatly benefited the country of China and its people.